I think you can.
Okay, I'm recording now.
Good. So anyway, let me kind of start over again. I am really impressed by what you've done. This is a very atypical business plan, in the sense that what your actual services and are very different than anything else I've ever seen, and that's and I think you've thought through, from what I can tell. There's a lot of detail here. What is a CLT? And a lot of detail about what it is, about how it affects the community, urban agriculture. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of the research team at SCI-Arc, Masha Hupalo, who is leading the research on community land trusts, and they just put out an academic paper, kind of education pamphlet on community land trusts called Perpetual Affordability. And Ben is right now researching that, so he's very much got his hands on into this field. And last year I was also researching this too, so we've got some background in this model, but I think we are still trying to get a grasp on the cost structure and how we would be able to market this, because typically these community land trusts are more so funded by the HUD programs, and I'm not sure if we're really trying to be that like very, very profitable architecture firm, if we should be setting some sort of baseline for how much we want to make. But yeah, no, it's just kind of like, I have some questions.
Well, it seems like you've got a good mentor who's done a lot of work in this particular area and research. So it feels very grounded. It doesn't feel like it's just some sort of whimsical idea that maybe this will work or maybe it won't work, but it's really about somebody who's done a lot of work, put in a lot of time, and is figuring all this out, how to make it work.
Yeah.
It's really good. So the thing that caught my attention was, how do you, and maybe you don't have that information now, and maybe that's forthcoming. I don't want you to get anxious and feel crazed that you can't figure out how you, as an architect, an architectural team, can come into this CLT and be profitable.
Right.
Okay, that's the real question that I was, as I went through it and I was reading it, that was the first thing that kind of came to my mind. Now, maybe this person who is doing research on CLTs has some sense or some ideas about how an architectural firm who wants to specialize in helping these programs move along and become profitable, they can tell you how you can navigate that and maybe set it up so that there's some introduction in here at the end of. You don't want to tell anybody how you're going to do it, because they don't know what. And the title here is, what is a CLT, is perfect. Then you get into how do we as a firm integrate into this and become profitable and be able to have a service that helps various organizations with the things they're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I at the end of this project, you're going to have something, some little seed something that says this is how we are going to do this. Now, it may not go into great detail, but it's got that's something, that whatever that something is, how you're going to be profitable, has got to be there in the end. Maybe you don't have it now, but you got weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to figure out with this person who's writing this whole program can help. I mean, certainly they have some sense or idea.
Likely that they do. And I mean, there is a lot more focus on how to make a CLT more affordable for the resident than there is about how to make it profitable for the people who are invested in it. So I think we'll have to do some creative research on this.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm sure, who is it that's doing the research?
Masha Hupalo.
So Masha, she may not even know exactly how to make it profitable, but there's a way to do it. I mean, you can make anything profitable if you think about it and how to make it profitable and who the target markets are. You already have the target markets.
Yes, we definitely have it carved out for us.
I mean, that's the piece that's that most people are lacking when they do a business plan.
Yeah. But it's proven that this target market has a big need. So
yeah. So within that need, there's an opportunity for a business to interject and grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, my only, and it's not a criticism, it's just a question of how you make that happen. At the end of this, we got to be able to see that you understand how you're going to do it. Or maybe there's still left some questions, but look, this is very new.
Mm-hmm.
So, given the fact that it's very, very new, this is a very untraditional architectural practice, but you may be starting, new, you're investing in new grounds here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if I were in your shoes, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be so amazed that, there's something new out there.
There's something that we also are proposing because we are architects forming this. How can we provide that value and reduce the cost? And one of the things that yesterday I was at a tour for Eric Moss's Hayden Tract Center, and they talked about the pterodactyl building and how it cost them only $3 million for 40,000 plus square feet of construction and design. And I'm like, how did you do that? That is so cheap. And they said because they removed the middleman of the builder was the developer and the construction, the contractor. So it was all in one service. The Sama Tower partners, they were the developers and the contractors. So they were able to take out so much of the middleman fee to bring this cost of construction down. And in that same vein, we're thinking, because we're architects, that maybe we can also, not an all-in-one service, but remove or reduce some of that fee, that design fee for maybe some of the new construction that is necessary for the CLT properties. So I think that is one of our proposals for not revenue stream, but for the financial structure. And then for revenue streams themselves, we need some help with that. We're thinking maybe for the service fee, we have a fixed rate for the construction cost at maybe like 10%. But then again, this is from our research. And so that's some input we need from you.
Okay. First of all, that's not an uncommon way of doing business.
Okay.
The developer is the contractor.
Okay.
It's as we in a lot of ways, it's a hybrid design build.
Okay.
It's just a matter of the developer having a construction company under their wing.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked for a developer for years who had a construction firm under their wing. They were there was a separate construction firm because they have to have a license and they have to have, an operating organization and so forth. They keep them separate enough, but all the money filters through the developer and the developer pays the contractor to build the building.
Okay.
But they're under one umbrella. They're not separate.
Okay.
It's not unusual. Now, what we try to do is we try to develop, if we're doing, I'll give you an example. When I designed our house, small house in Santa Monica, I thought if I can keep one or two subcontractors off the job, I don't use them. I substitute them for somebody else that is already on the job. So the carpenter can do the wood cladding on the exterior and the insulation and all of that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need somebody to do stucco or some other kind of material on the house. The downstairs was all concrete block, all CMU. One mason, one tender who works with the mason. They built the downstairs of the house in 2 weeks. We were able to build the house in 5 months. Normally that house would take a year to build. So how did we save money? Because you get a loan, a construction loan for a year or however long they think it should take you to build that building.
Okay.
They also make you borrow the interest that you're going to pay them for the loan. So you're borrowing that money. It's like, I don't have to come up with the interest because I'm already borrowing it. So it's the construction cost plus the interest makes the construction loan. Well, if I can finish that house in less time, I'm not making those interest payments on the construction loan because it's not being dragged out for a year. It was only dragged out for 5 months. The lender was not happy because they
Of
had
course
figured,
not. They make money off of the interest payments, right?
which you borrow.
Yeah.
And if you don't borrow it and the house is done and you close out the loan, they're standing with a bunch of money that they didn't earn, that they were going to lend you, that you were going to pay them back in interest, and that didn't happen. So what they said was, if you ever want to do another building like this, call us because we'll be your partner. Because if you can do these houses quicker than normal, then we will become more profitable, the lender.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
anyway, the long and the short of all this is there's different ways of doing these things. And this is just a different way of doing it. You guys are starting from an idea, and I don't know if it's been tried.
There are many use cases where we see CLTs in Oakland or Irvine or
Okay,
yeah, Berkeley. It's all over California.
okay, good. Then you know they work. It's just a matter of how an architectural firm teams
Yeah.
with them and becomes part of them. And I don't think that's such a hard thing to do. And it's going to be profitable because you're going to figure out ways of making it profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right now, right. If you had a bushel of apples and you went out, you got a product, now all you need is a customer to buy them. The CLTs almost seem like they've got an organizational system set up to make them work. They got cities to make them work, but you're the apples and who are going to make a profit for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
including yourselves.
Okay.
So that's all you got to figure out, I think, right at this point,
Yeah.
is to figure out how your architectural firm becomes part of this. They need
Yeah.
you. They need you to do, right?
Yeah, I think we need to know the funnel of where the money is coming in from and how the money is going out. So if we're getting money from government programs as well as state programs, as well as housing funds from like the Getty Foundation, I don't know, because they're interested in the research and they want to be part of this kind of organization, perhaps we can take a percentage of those as a nonprofit to be able to run it. But I'm not sure if we're trying to get this nonprofit to be extremely profitable or just to be like able to run it, like, are we trying to make a big salary from this? Or
Well, I think you have to make a fair salary. There's probably not going to on the back end, there may not be a lot of profit, but that's not what nonprofits are about.
okay.
Nonprofits are structured. They're structured in a very particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a nonprofit here in Santa Monica. It's called Community Corporation of Santa Monica. Community Corporation is profitable, which is a contradiction of a nonprofit.
I mean,
you would
SIARC is a nonprofit too.
Yeah, you would intuitively, exactly. But that institution does, in fact, whether you like it or not, makes a profit. And if it doesn't, it's not going to be around very much longer. SIARC makes a profit. Mm-hmm. It pays for all the overhead. It pays for people's salaries. They probably have some sort of trust set up or something set up, which money goes into that they have to spend per year on facilities and various other things. So, they have to put money back into the organization. And if you just look at a 501c, that's a nonprofit.
Yeah.
If you look at how a 501c works, you'll see how there's a possibility for you guys as architects to be able to work in this CLT organization and be able to plug into it. They need architects because, I go back here and I look at the services and the things that that you're going to be doing. They're going to need architects to do these things.
Yeah.
These are not just ideas. These are going to end up in a lot of ways. A lot of this stuff is going to end up as a building.
Oh, sometimes these are existing buildings.
Fine.
Yeah. But maybe there's the business model in repurposing and the internal redesign of the buildings.
Absolutely. That's running rampant through downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I think I told you guys that when I first moved here, some of us went to a baseball game at Dodger Stadium, and as we were driving home, I said, let's go into downtown Los Angeles and see if we can find a restaurant or a bar and have something to eat and drink.
Mhm.
There was nothing open. It was a ghost town. There were hardly even any homeless people living there. It was
Yeah.
like it was an abandoned city. It's because it was all offices, and people lived in the suburbs.
Mm.
So they came into the city to work. They left
Yeah.
at the end of the day. There was no need for dining after 6 o'clock because there was no customers.
Mm.
So what has transformed downtown Los Angeles is turning those older office buildings into apartments.
So they are trying to bring in more life into the city so that people come in, work, and then they stay and they have business.
They work and live there.
Yeah. Okay.
It's how many of SciArc students live in and near SciArc? Probably a lot.
Yeah. Well, there's one Santa Fe and many of the other apartment complexes around, but
Yeah.
then you do have the few of us who are from LA or who need to live in an affordable area and then
Yeah.
commute to school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like the empty city problem is also an issue of affordability. The city is expensive to live in.
City wasn't this expensive years and years and years.
Mhm.
You could have found something in downtown Los Angeles. It might not have been great, but would have been unbelievably inexpensive. When I first moved to Santa Monica in '72, it was very, very affordable. I came from Claremont, which is about 50 miles east of here. The rent was the same.
Mm.
But Santa Monica wasn't like it is today. It was not a sleepy little beach town. There were some pretty awful sections of it, and that's where I ended up living. And it was very expensive. It was very inexpensive. Venice was even less expensive, except it was way more dangerous.
Okay. You're choosing your battles here.
And there was hardly any restaurants here. There was hardly any shops and stores here.
Now Venice is booming with really good food.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Because there's a demand. Why is there a demand? Because people are moving into the city. People are moving into downtown Los Angeles. There's a demand for shops and stores and restaurants, and entertainment.
Okay.
We're probably drifting off subject here a little bit, but
well, I'm trying to, because I know this week we're going to talk about marketing plan, I think.
next week,
And
not this week, next week.
what is happening for this week?
We're going to this Tuesday, we're going to start talking about the standard form of agreement between owner and architect, the contract.
Oh, is that the B-141?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a quiz? Sorry.
No, you have 2 exams.
But it's not going to happen this week.
Oh, no. We'll set up the first exam based on your schedules, the class schedules outside of our class.
Okay.
I can't in all consciousness give you an exam that has 100 true, false, multiple choice questions the day after you do your mid-project reviews.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for anybody. So we can adjust. It says in the schedule when the first exam is going to take place, but that typically moves based on your mid-project reviews. It moves later to give you at least a week to prepare for the exam and study for it.
Hmm. Okay.
And
Thank
this
you.
project assignment 1 and 2, this is a 14-week course. Your studios are 15 weeks. Your assignment 1 and 2 will be due the 16th week. There is no 16th week of school, but it's before grades are due. That's when your 2 assignments are due, because I can't expect you to do your final reviews and get these 2 assignments done and be successful in both. It's not realistic for me to do that. So I put your 2 assignments off to the week after you've had your final reviews in school.
Okay. Thank you. I assume that you went through some trial and error to understand how.
No, I that's the way I've done it for 20 years. You know, I was a student once, believe it or not, and I know how students in architecture work. You know, it's the seminar courses that suffer your attention because your design studios are so important to you. So
Yeah.
why make life miserable for me and also more miserable for you to try to do them one on top of the other? Yeah.
It's nice.
It's
I
better.
feel like it's actually nice that for the most part in a class time where you're talking through the issues, and I think we really appreciate when you call on us to actually talk through our own business plans. That might not be a popular opinion, but I really do appreciate hearing about other people's thoughts, because we're all on the same plane when it comes to running a business. We probably all need to learn.
Yeah.
And we won't know until you're telling us, no, that's not how it works, but nice try. And then like we learn from that. So yeah, I appreciate the structure of this course so far.
Good. Well,
Yeah. Anyway, I guess in terms of our own business structure, your main concerns are, how do we make money?
well, how do you get yourself integrated as architects into this?
Yeah. Okay.
That's the first question. Once you do that, you will make money. You're creating a job for yourselves in this CLT. You're creating a demand for yourself, your firm, in this CLT. That's the question. How do you get that piece solved? Well, I think you go back to the person who's got a handle on the CLTs. This is
Masha,
and say, Masha, sit down with us and tell us what your thoughts are about how we as an architectural firm could become part of the CLT as architects. Tell us how you see that happening. I'm sure she's got some ideas.
I think so.
I think so too.
All right. So I guess we're gonna have to do our research. That's
Well,
our
you're
homework
gonna have
for
to
the
talk
week.
with her and, buy her a coffee or whatever you need to do and sit down and brainstorm it together. Because this is somewhat new. I mean, it's completely new to me.
Yeah.
It's not new to her. It's probably not new to others that are making it work. And maybe there's a couple of CLTs out there that she knows that have architects that work with them, and you can talk to them about how that all took place.
Okay. All right. So we'll reach out and have that conversation. Just
Yeah,
get a little bit more information on
it's
how we
just,
can work around it.
it's just some research.
Okay.
You guys are good at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have a handle on some research.
Yeah.
For this class time, do you want the graphic? I think there was something about last week you said you wanted the business plan with graphics applied and a table of contents.
Well, you got the table of contents.
Yes,
It's how do we make this
look professional.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at, there's this program called Employee Retention Tax Credit. And yeah, I'm not going to get into it, but you know, and it's done, and the graphics are not very good, but they have graphics, and it permeates through the document. Here's the document. There's what it looks like. It's got graphics. Paychecks does it. It's not beautiful, but there's something there that says this is a professional document. We thought the content is there, and we want it to look good.
Okay.
I could send you a proposal. Maybe what I'll do is I'll share a proposal that we do in our office that we send out to clients, so you can see what a proposal looks like. That has some graphic content to it. It looks good, we think.
Yeah.
And it has some images in there, and it has all the same kind of stuff you have. You know, it has printed material. But if you look at printed material by itself, like the table of contents, it says table of contents, and it's got a dozen categories, no pages next to it, but you'll have page numbers in there. So if it comes down to, eventually it will, but it looks pretty dull.
Yeah, no, this is not our graphics. This is just for our own.
Exactly. You haven't gotten to that point yet. So now's the time to start thinking about that.
When you say graphics and when we talk about professionalism, I feel like that's part of marketing in the sense that we have to choose the right font, the right colors, the right things that represent our values as a firm. So
That's right.
Okay, so that's stuff to think about in that sense. Okay, so
Yeah.
cool.
This is our business card. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, it's red with white text, I think.
Yeah. The other
Okay.
side has a little more information on it. And it's got all the pertinent stuff, but the front side, when people look at the front side, they say, "Oh, that's really interesting." It looks interesting to most people. And then they flip it over and they can see, you know, the other stuff. But our letterhead, our envelopes, our website, all of that stuff ties together. And we had somebody, we didn't do it. I do what I do best, and they do what they do best. And I don't need to spend countless hours trying to figure out how to make a website work when there's people out there that we can pay to do that.
Yeah.
And we can do what we do best, design buildings. Yeah. So, okay.
All right. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
All right. That's really good news. Are we doing this every week, by the way?
No,
No.
this was first draft.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we'll do another draft, and then you'll do the final. You'll just mail in the final in the 16th week.
Okay.
And we'll do the same thing with the proposal.
That's assignment 2.
Assignment 2.
Okay.
So we'll meet like this. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Michael.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
We'll see you this week.
I hope so.
Yeah, you will. All
Bye.
right. Take care. Bye. Oh, wow. Wait, it's still recording. Hold on.